Hi guys, we want to solve for x and y in x, y equals 48 and x plus y equals 2. Let's say solution. The first we have is xy equals 48. Let's say this is equation 1. And we have x plus y equals 2. Let's say this equation 2. So from here, we can say from equation 2, we can make x the subject of the formula so that we have x equals 2 minus y. So let's number this equation 3. So now we substitute this 3 into our equation 1. So meaning we have 2 minus y. So this is x, right? 2 minus y times y equals 48, right? So then we use this y to multiply out these brackets. We have 2 times y, we have 2y minus y times y, we have y square equals 48. So then we can transfer this 48 to this side so that we have 2y minus y square minus 48 equals 0. So here we want to make y square as our first term. So then we can easily multiply both sides by minus 1. So we have minus 1 multiplied by 2y minus y square minus 48 equals minus 1 times 0. Alright. So from here, let's multiply out minus 1 times 2y. So we have minus 2y. Then minus 1 times minus y square, that is y square plus y square plus 48 equals 0. So we can arrange now. We have y square minus 2y plus 48 equals 0. Guys, if you look at this, you will see that this is a quadratic equation. Alright, so we have to solve this quadratically. If you compare this with the general expression of quadratic equation, so ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0, you see that our a coefficient of y squared is 1, b our coefficient of y is minus 2, and our c, which is our constant, is 48. All right, so from the quadratic formula we have y equals minus b plus or minus square root of b square minus 4ac divided by 2a. So we now substitute these values into this formula. So we have y equals minus 2 minus times minus 2 plus or minus square root of minus 2 square minus 4 times 1 times 48. All right, this divided by 2 times 1. So we have y equals minus times minus 2, so that is 2 plus or minus square root of minus 2 square will give us 4, minus 4 times 1 minus 4 times 48, that is minus 192, divided by 1 times 2, we have 2. So then we have y equals 2 plus or minus square root of 4 minus 192 will give us minus 188 divided by 2. So then we have y equals 2 plus or minus. Let's do something interesting here. So we'll have square root of 188 times square root of minus 1 divided by 2. But guys, let's recall that I, which is iota, equals square root of minus 1. Right? Okay. So let's not forget this is where we are. Alright. So now we will have our y to be equals 2 plus or minus. This 188, we could express it as 4 times 47. Alright. Times, don't forget our square root of minus 1 is iota I. So divided by 2. So from here, we will have y to be equals 2 plus or minus. We can distribute this square root to both 4 and 47. We have square root of 4 times square root of 47 times I divided by 2. So then we have y to be equals 2 plus or minus square root of 4 is 2. So we have 2 root 47I divided by 2. Alright. Now we can see that we have a common factor here, which is 2. 2 here, 2 here. We can factorize 2 out. So we have y equals 2. What will be left here? 1 plus or minus square root of 47 I divided by 2. So we have this 2 cancel this 2. So we have y equals 1 plus or minus square root of 47I. Alright. But these are y, right? To obtain our x, we should recall from equation 3. We call equation 3. So we says x equals 2 minus y. Right? So let's substitute this y into this. So we'll have x equals 2 minus 1 plus or minus square root of 47I. Guys, we are going to do something interesting here. We have x equals, we are going to use this minus to expand this. So we have 2 minus times plus 1. We have minus 1. So we now have minus times plus or minus. So what this will effect here is that it will interchange this sign. So if we have something plus here before and you multiply it by minus, it will be minus. This is minus, minus times minus, that is plus. Right? So square root of 47I. So therefore, we will have x to be equals, if you look at this, we will have 2 minus 1, that is 1, right? So but plus or minus square root of 47I is still the same as plus or minus square root of 47I. So these are value of x. Therefore, our x is equals to 1 plus or minus square root of 47I, and our y is equals 1 plus or minus square root of 47I. So this is our answer. You can actually verify this using our original equations. So kindly verify and tell me if this value of x and y satisfy the given equation. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Can you like and leave a comment, and don't forget to share with your friends and network. Do also subscribe to my channel to stay updated on my next video. Bye. Hi guys, welcome. This is a wonderful math Olympiad question. Let's solve it together. Let's see solution. We want to find the value of x in x minus 4 raised to power 4 equals x raised to power 4. So we'll have x minus 4 raised to power 4 is equals x raised to power 4. So from here, what we are going to do is we transfer this x raised to power 4 to this side. So we have x minus 4 raised to power 4 minus x raised to power 4 equals 0. So from here, let's recall that if you have from the product power law of indices, we have if you have a raised to power m raised to power n, this is equals one number which is raised to a certain power is again raised to another power. The powers are multiplied. So we have a raised to power mn. So that means that we can express this as x minus 4 raised to power 2, then let it again raised to power 2. Also this will be expressed as x squared, then also let it raised to power 2 again. So if you look at this expression, so you see that we have an expression of the form of difference of 2 square now. So which implies that if you have m square minus n square, this is equals m plus n multiplied by m minus n. So applying this to this, we will have x minus 4 square plus, what do we have here? S square. All right, so multiply by x minus 4 square minus s square. So we have s square here. Let equals everything to 0. Okay. So now what is left is to just expand this. We first expand this, then we add it to this. So we are going to expand this. You see we have, this will be x square, right? So then we have 2 times 4 times x. So that is minus 8x. So then we have minus 4 square, and that is 16. So we also have this being added by x square. So again, we do the same thing to this. We have x square, right, minus 8x plus 16. So then we had what? We subtract minus x square here, then equals it to 0. So now if you look at this, you will see that this and this, that is common term. So we have 2x square minus 8x plus 16. All right. So but here this we cancel out this. So we have minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. So what this implies is this equals 0 and this equals 0. So we have 2x square minus 8x plus 16 equals 0, or minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. So let's go by the second one. So let's go by the second case from minus 8x plus 16. So we want to find the value of x here. So and to do that, we can transfer this to the other side. So we have minus 8x equals minus 16. We divide both sides by minus 8, minus 8. This we cancel this, so we have x equals, this minus we cancel this minus, 16 divided by 8 will give us 2. All right, so we have this first. So also from our first equation, so which is 2x squared minus 8x plus 16 equals 0. You observe that this is a quadratic equation. So we have to solve it quadratically. So by comparing it with the general expression of quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. So that means that we have our a coefficient of x squared, so that to be 2, b coefficient of x to be minus 8, and our c, which is our constant, equals 16. From the quadratic formula, we have x equals minus b plus or minus square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So we are going to substitute these values into this formula. So we have x equals minus 8 minus times minus 8 plus or minus square root of minus 8 square times 4 times minus 4 times 2 times 16 divided by 2 times 2. So by this we'll have x equals minus times minus 8 will give us 8 plus or minus square root of minus 8 square will give us 64. Then minus 4 times 2, that is 16. 16 times 16 will give us, that is minus 128, divided by 2 times 2 will give us 4. Alright, so now we have x equals 8 plus or minus square root of 64 minus 128 will give us minus 64 divided by 4. So then we'll have x equals 8 plus or minus square root of 64 times square root of minus 1 divided by 4. So we'll have x equals 8 plus or minus square root of 64 is 8. Also here, let's remember that our I equals square root of minus 1. So here now we can have I, alright, divided by 4. So we have a common factor here, so which is 8, alright. Let's factorize it out. We have 8. What is left here? 1 plus or minus I, right, divided by 4. 4 here 1, 4 here 2, right? So we have x equals 2 plus or minus 2i. So therefore we have our x1 to be equals 2 plus 2i. Then our x2 to be equals 2 minus 2i.